My first guest is the chairperson of the Congress Manifesto Committee, former Union Minister P Chidambaram joins me. Appreciate your joining us, sir. Your manifesto has created a storm. The BJP and Prime Minister Modi, Mr. Chidambaram, are saying the Congress is moving closer to some kind of an old-style left system where they want to redistribute the wealth in this country. And the Prime Minister says if the Congress comes to power, they will seize your wealth and give it possibly to the minorities, citing your manifesto and speeches made by Rahul Gandhi. More specifically, sir, page 28 of your manifesto, which says, we will address the growing inequality of wealth and income through suitable changes in policies. What exactly does this mean? What is the Congress party trying to do on wealth redistribution?
This means exactly what every party has said over the last several years, including Mr. Narendra Modi. Where does it use the word redistribute? Unless the translation which Mr. Modi read of our manifesto uses the equivalent word of redistribution. Please understand, is there inequality in this country or not? Is there inequity in this country or not? Who owns the bulk of the nation's wealth? The top 1%. Who earns the bulk of the nation's income? The top 10%. Have you all forgotten what Thomas Piketty has said in his book? And several commentators have said, we have to address inequality. There is inequality in every society. There is inequality in America. There is inequality in every country. But India's inequalities have increased over the last 10 years, or maybe 20 years, or maybe 30 years. We have to address the inequalities and ensure that the bottom 50% or the bottom 75% get a fair share of the national income and hold a fair share of the national wealth. Who talks about seizing private property and redistributing among Muslims? Where are those words? This is outrageous statement. This is a manifest lie. And I'm sorry I have to use such strong words when we are responding to the Honorable Prime Minister of India. I am deeply disappointed and ashamed that the Honorable Prime Minister should indulge in such gross distortion.
You're saying it's gross distortion. The government or the Prime Minister Modi's group are saying your manifesto was followed by a speech that Rahul Gandhi makes on April 6th in Hyderabad, where he says, if voted to power, we will first conduct a nationwide caste census to determine how many people belong to OBCs, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and minorities. After that, we will conduct a financial and institutional survey in a historic step to ascertain the redistribution of wealth or distribution of wealth. This is leading many to believe, when aligned to changes in policies mentioned in your manifesto, that somewhere the Congress wants to push ahead with some form of redistribution of wealth, is what the Prime Minister suggests, sir.
Which are the categories he mentioned? Please repeat those 4 categories.
OBCs, SCs,
Please repeat the 4 categories
OBCs, SCs, and minorities. OBCs, SCs, STs, minorities.
ST, OBC. That's what I'm saying. Please listen to me. SC, ST, OBC, and minority. They constitute 90% of the population of India. OBCs constitute about, according to the Mandal Commission, OBCs constitute 54%. The minorities are there. The SC constitute at least 15 to 17%. The STs constitute, the total is about 85 to 90%. If 85 to 90% have suffered economic inequality, should you not fine-tune the policies, the economic policies of the government, so that they get there? They means SC, ST, OBC, and minority. Now, why are you picking out the Muslims alone? There are 4 categories which constitute 90% of the population of this country. Are you not concerned that 90% of the population of this country are suffering from economic inequality?
Sir, that's because Prime Minister Modi is also quoting former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and what he said in 2006 in a speech, where he seemed to suggest or suggested that that minorities, particularly the Muslim minority, are empowered to share equitably in the fruits of development. They must have the first claim on resources.
Nothing like that. Mr. Rajdeep, please don't be more loyal than the king. Please don't repeat what the Prime Minister said without reading the speech. The speech has been reproduced in the Indian Express yesterday and today in the Times of India in a box, exactly what Dr. Manmohan Singh said to the National Development Council in 2006. Please read the speech. It is reproduced in the Times of India today. The speech talks about poor, the SC, the ST, the OBC, the minorities, and all other neglected sections, and talks about farmers, talks about workers, and said these are the people, these are the categories who have the first claim to resources. Unless the BJP interprets it to mean that the first claim of resources of this country belong to half a dozen corporate bigwigs of India.
Mr. Chidambaram, I want to tell you, I also reproduced the former Prime Minister's speech in its entirety in my program last night. What the word which has become contentious is that he used the word, particularly minorities, when he used the phrase first claim on resources. And that's what's being used by Prime Minister Modi and the BJP to, in a way, suggest that the Congress will give specific or special rights to minorities and Muslims.
Just a moment. You can't just shoot a question and not wait for an answer. Minorities include religious minorities and linguistic minorities. Minorities include Christians, Sikhs, Parsis, Jains, Muslims. Minorities is a wide catch-on word. For example, Tamils in Mumbai and Gujarat, Biharis in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, say Bengalis in Bihar, Punjabis in Madhya Pradesh. They are also minorities. Are they getting their fair share of government jobs? Are they getting their fair share of government contracts? Please don't equate minority with Muslim. Muslims are an important minority, but there are other minorities, religious minorities and linguistic minorities.
Can I though ask you, Mr. Chidambaram, specifically back to the manifesto? When you say that you will bring in suitable changes in policies in the context of the need for equality, shouldn't you come clear as to what are the changes that you're going to bring in your policies? You made a statement in the manifesto. Rahul Gandhi speaks about revolutionary steps to address the problem of inequality, but you don't tell the nation what you intend to do specifically. Naturally, then the government will interpret it the way they choose, because this is an election campaign. Shouldn't you be more specific and tell us what those policies are?
They are not interpreting, they are distorting. A manifesto highlights the direction in which we will go and the policies we will emphasize. The details of the policy have to be worked out. Let me ask you a question. What created the present iniquitous, abject inequalities in India? The current policies and the past policies. If the past policies and the current policies create such economic inequalities, should those policies be changed or not? Please answer that question. Those policies obviously have to be changed, have to be fine-tuned. For example, Maganrega was a change of policy. Midday meal scheme was a change of policy as way back as 1954. Reservation for OBC in educational institutions is a change of policy in 2008. Therefore, policies have to be changed so that inequality is addressed. Unless you deny there are inequalities, then of course no change in policy is necessary. Let the corporate bigwigs continue to become richer and richer. Please understand, in 1 year, during the pandemic year, one corporate or two corporates increased their wealth by almost 30-40%. Please don't ignore the fact that the rest of India was impoverished and went into debt. Some corporates increased their wealth several times. Therefore, policies have to be changed. What policies have to be changed, what changes have to take place, has to be decided by the government. It cannot be decided by a party. The Council of Ministers, depending upon who composes the Council of Ministers, will sit and deliberate with the help of advisors what policies have to be changed, what policies have to be fine-tuned. Let me ask you, what does Modi ki guarantee say? Its so-called BJP manifesto is titled Modi ki guarantee. Which policy does Modi ki guarantee booklet advocate? Why don't you ask the same questions to Mr. Narendra Modi or Mr. Amit Shah, and let us see what their answer is?
Sir, I'm asking you the questions today. I will surely ask Mr. Modi and Shah if and when I get the opportunity.
You will not get an opportunity to ask the Prime Minister.
No. Whether I get the opportunity or not is another matter, but I still want to ask you. Would you concede, when you speak of income inequalities, that pre-2014 also there were income inequalities? It's not as if they didn't exist when you were in power. You've been in power for all these years. Is the Congress saying that income inequalities only begin after Narendra Modi becomes Prime Minister in 2014 and that you're going to reverse all those policies?
Did I say that? Did I say that? You please play back the tape. I said inequalities have happened over the last 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. I've covered over a 30-year period. In fact, after liberalization, the liberalization and opening up the economy has the same effect in every country. History tells us that. Immediately, the better off classes will get better and the poor will remain poor. But over a period of time, liberalization and a free economy and an open economy is expected to lift all boats. Some boats have been lifted in this country, many boats have not been lifted. Therefore, we have to fine-tune the policies so that there is a fairer distribution of income, a fairer distribution of opportunities, a fairer share for the bottom 50%. I have repeatedly said that the bottom 50% are as important as the top 50%. And the bottom 20% are even more important than the top 20%.
Sir, but when Rahul Gandhi says, Jitni abadi utna haq, effectively suggesting that based on population, people will have their rights, what is he trying to say? Because it leads to fears that Rahul Gandhi is now calling for reservations for all, which will go beyond 50% and more. As your manifesto says, you will bring a law to reverse what the Supreme Court had said in terms of only 50% reservation. Reservation could then go up to 80-90%. Those are the fears people have when your leader said, Jitni abadi utna haq.
Just because you can shoot a question, you can't ignore the facts. First, there are several states in which reservation is already well above 50%. One of them is Tamil Nadu. Number two, the Supreme Court itself, in the last judgment, lifted the 50% cap by saying an additional 10% reservation for economically weaker sections does not and will not be unconstitutional, and lifted the 50% cap to 60%. The point is, if you want a fair share for all sections of the people, we have said, and we have openly said, we must have a socio-economic caste census. Mr. Ajit Pawar, who is a partner of the Maharashtra BJP government, has also endorsed socio-economic census. In fact, Mr. Amit Shah once said, the BJP is not opposed to a socio-economic census. He did not say we are for a socio-economic census. He said we are not opposed to a socio-economic census. So practically every party in this country is agreed on a socio-economic census. The socio-economic census will give us valuable data. Based on the data, we'll have to frame the policies that will bring about a greater equality, a greater equity. Unless you are saying we are not in favor of equality or equity. I am saying loud and clear that the Congress party is in favor of equality and equity.
Let me ask you, sir, in conclusion, since you mentioned Home Minister Amit Shah, He's your successor as Home Minister. You've said apparently, if you come to power, you will repeal the CA, the Citizenship Amendment Act. You will do away with the new IPC laws, Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiyanam, and you will replace the whatever the government has done. Are you standing by that if a Congress government comes to power, all these laws will be repealed? Because Amit Shah is saying this is classic appeasement of vote banks, and in any case, there is no question of the Congress coming back to power.
Listen, let's take the 3 criminal laws. I've already said in my dissent note to the committee's report, and we have said from the opposition benches in the parliament debate, that the new bill to replace the Indian Penal Code is a 90% copy and paste of the IPC. The new bill to replace the CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code, is a 90 to 95% cut and paste of the old CRPC. And the new bill to replace the Indian Evidence Act is a 99% cut and paste of the Indian Evidence Act. Where was the need for a new bill? Unless the purpose of the new bill is to create confusion. Every section has been changed. Every section number has been changed. If you wanted to make some crucial amendments, and I'm not denying that there are some amendments which are welcome, you could have amended the IPC, you could have amended the CRPC, you could have amended the Indian Evidence Act, and we would have supported the amendments on their merits.
No, can I come back to the Citizenship Amendment Act?
Thrown the entire legal fraternity into utter confusion, utter disarray. Everybody has to relearn the sections. From a police constable to a Supreme Court judge has to relearn the lessons. In fact, one judge of the Madras High Court, sitting judge, has said, I will not refer to the 3 laws when they are enforced by the Hindi name. I will continue to use the words Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, and Indian Evidence Act.
I get that you want that amended, but what about CA? What about CA?
There's great merit in saying, just a moment, there's great merit in saying that the IPC, CRPC, and the Indian Evidence Act requires some amendments, some improvements, and they can be added, amended, instead of replacing the 3 acts. The replacement of the 3 acts seems to be a vanity project. Anyway, leave that aside. CAA, not only I, every member of the opposition opposed it in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Several members of the Congress have spoken against the CAA. Gaurav Gogoi, in his campaign in Assam, has said, you will not allow me to complete the answer. What do I do?
Will you replace the CA?
You will not allow me to complete the answer.
Will you repeal the CA?
I'm not under interrogation. This is an interview. I must allow to answer. This CAA has to go, and we will enact a law on asylum consistent with international conventions to which India is a party. Not only I, Gaurav Gogoi has said it, Shashi Tharoor has said it, Priyanka Gandhi said it in Kerala. Therefore, several leaders have said it. Our position is very clear. We will enact a law on asylum which is consistent with the international conventions to which India is a party.
Thank you very much for clarifying that. Before we conclude, I want to ask you, are you ready then for an open debate with Prime Minister Modi or Home Minister Amit Shah? Your manifesto versus BJP manifesto? And how will you ensure greater equality in the country when it comes to income? Are you ready for a full debate with them on that?
I am ready for a debate, but I'm too small a fry to the Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Honorable Home Minister of India. Whether they will deign to debate me is a moot question. You please get their consent, and we will field suitable opponents to the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Home Minister.
Okay, Mr. Chidambaram, for joining me on the show tonight and giving us your position and that of your party. I appreciate you joining us here on the show tonight.